I would like to invite Martin Munga, who is the commercial manager at Opticom Kenya, to make his presentation before we go to the next speaker. So Martin, karibu.
I'm honored today to represent our CEO, Mr. Tim Chege, who couldn't make it. He was scheduled to be here, but he couldn't make it. So he always says that technology evolves, and we cannot, just like Einstein said, we cannot try to solve problems at the same level the same problems were created and expect different results. It will be the definition of insanity. The same way we were doing it years back. And we have to adopt a new and very disruptive approach to how we deal with these issues. So I'm very honored to present to you today on the different options. And as Henry mentioned, with relevance to resident associations. So just a second, just to brief you who Opticom is. So we are a Kenyan company focused on security and safety, in both private and public sector, engaging individuals and commercial businesses in designing solutions that help them reduce their risk. A backup response, put an electric fence, maybe a camera or two. The question is, how efficient is that? Have you looked at your design of your facility? So we are saying that when we start looking at the issues and the problems in our different neighborhoods, then comes the design. And that's where we as consultants come in. Your different neighborhoods have different setups. A setup in Kilimani or Muthaiga is different from a setup in Ngong. So the design has to be built on as you begin your construction, as opposed to built after or built later. The norm in this market, and we find that even in the corporate industry, architectures have for many years ignored security design on the onset, and even setting up budget for security implementation on the onset, and becomes an afterthought. So that has been some of the biggest problems and biggest challenges. Having considerations for our less privileged in terms of entry points. So the biggest problem we have had is design from the beginning. And what we are saying moving forward is that we, as consultants, and you, as members and resident association participants, we all have to lobby. We all have to work together. The human element and technology have to work together. And this forum is so important because then we get to lobby the inclusion of security design in our neighborhoods from the onset, and becomes easier for our less privileged members. Risk management, very important. A lot of people take it for granted. Looking at the design of their facilities. You need to understand the risks in your area, the risks that affect your people. We always say you can never leave, and we can never leave the security of our families and our properties to chance. So this is a serious subject, and we encourage our members to get interested and get committed in participating. And it's through engagements like this that we then end up setting up solutions that make sense. We are saying that we have to develop and we have to move into a disruptive approach. I started by saying that we cannot solve our security problems through the same level the problems were created and expect different results. So we have to develop a very, very disruptive approach. Technology has provided for us a lot of options, and I'll be coming to that just now. Today, whether you're living in apartments, whether you're living in a small maisonette or in a gated community, by the touch of phone, you're able to access security options and solutions, and consultants who can help you design what fits your facility, because not all solutions fit all. Risk management is important. We need to analyze your gated communities, analyze your facility, look at what fits, discuss with you, present solutions, have a design that makes sense, and move to technology. It cannot be plug and play, fit as you wish, because these problems will keep recurring. Just to highlight on a typical solution on overlay, our approach is focused on an in-depth approach to to security. What you see here is a typical, what we call an onion ring. We look at security from that angle. The top layer is your perimeter. That's where you have the main entry. That's where we say you need to deter or delay people coming in. So a thought process around your entries, whether it's a gate community, is so important. What do you require? Is it a green fence? Is it a wall fence? What's your threat in the area? Is it intrusion? A design must fit your area. Which part of the country are you in? So the design then moves into the second layer. And then that's when you're talking about your main surveillance or patrol area. Crime prevention through environmental design is so important, and I know that's a whole different topic. A lot of people are not aware that leaving ladders, leaving blunt objects outside your compound is a threat to yourself. You're aiding adversaries to come into your facility. So the education around your environment and setup of your main residence is so important. How you set up your environment, clearing up the bushes, your lighting, your entry, all these things are so important, and you cannot take them for granted. Then you come to the third layer when you're talking about access control, where that's your main building. You look at the nuts and bolts, your grills and your frames. All these things must take preference, and you must have a thought process and understanding the environment you're in. Your key management, that's your main door, and how then you manage visitors coming in and out. So all these are important considerations in your residences or in your gated communities. With that, then you need to engage consultants to know what solutions you need to put in. And these and these solutions are many in the market. And we as Opticom are ready to help you on that. Just to finalize on this slide, at the end of the day, the question is, what happens after that? Through engagement like this, sensitization of what technology solutions are there, and making that commitment to move to that next step, to start engaging and implementing this solution.
Let me see by show of hands the questions that we have. People have to ask questions or make comments. I can see quite a number. So we are going to go systematically, starting from this row, then the Ivo. So who wants to ask a question? Okay, let's start with Jimmy here.
Good morning. My name is Gay Mabek. I'm the Secretary of Boroboro Residents Welfare Association. My question is two. One is to Mr. Martin. Kindly, as the residents, we appreciate your presentation and we'd like to have that system on board. So kindly, if you can explain to us in detail, if we put on the preset gates per every estate, it's 1 to 5, what are the charges, and be a monthly fee? And also, if an individual house owner want to put, is there any monthly amount once you pay, that's it? Kindly clarify and explain to us. My question is to Mr. Thomas. As Buruburu phase 1 to 5, we used to have our patrols. So request if that can come back, because we have seen it has relaxed. I know in our where I stay we have our senior police officers. I don't know if because we have senior officers in our residence, but kindly, for the purpose of other cases, return the patrol, because insecurity has been not it has been worsened. Especially now we have a road that is called Soko Road that goes through the Mitindo. And you see, that is where now insecurity has increased. But in our area, in terms of phase 5, since we are okay, we want that patrol to come back, even if you have a senior police officer. And my last comment is to comment all the speakers. We appreciate for your presentation, and we'll request if you can send to us, it will be much appreciated. And please, Martin, when you explain to us, share the contacts. Yeah, thank you.
How do you protect critical infrastructure in terms of, for example, Safaricom mass which are in associations in the neighborhoods, in terms of enhancing or teaching the residents how to protect the same, or how do the police protect the same in terms of not associating the residents associations? Thank you.
Yes, my name is Selena. I live in Milimani. I live in an apartment. This is just general for anybody. So it's an apartment setting. So there are some owners, some who are renting, and then we have this thing called Airbnb. And they're like furnished apartments. So one day you wake, I know they don't come in like the moving truck. It's furnished. So you wake up in the morning, you're meeting international people, you know. Today they look like this, the next day they look like this, the next time they look like this, and they are gone and they are coming. So this issue of Airbnb, how, and you know, with children, you know, so you don't know these people, and I think it's a concern. So is there a policy or something concerning that? That's my question.
If you recall, 30 years ago, you know, I think 1993, when Buruburu was a new estate, you know, it was one of the most flashy upcoming estates in Nairobi. It's unfortunate that the design never factored for security provisions. What we've seen over the years, you know, is upcoming apartments in every entry of each of the courts, you know, commercial kiosks everywhere. And it's become like, it's become very difficult to differentiate Umoja and Buruburu. Not there yet, but that's where it's headed. The risk in that is that you have everybody migrating from all the rural areas coming to a gated community. The shacks are being set up. Everybody with their own house is setting up rental houses, and they've messed up the infrastructure of Buruburu. Now, the main entry to Buruburu and exit of Buruburu is a freeway for commercial matatus and everyone. So the setup has become totally messed up. Approach to that will be disengagement. Now, the beauty and the good news is that Buruburu Resident Association, you guys have now engaged your teams in different courts. And I'm happy that is happening and continuous meetings. Next steps will be now to listen to the challenges in each of the areas, because the challenges are brought per court. If you look at Buruburu Phase 5, that area, if the residents of Buruburu Phase 5 are committed and working together, then the consultant is able to listen to them. Then with that engagement, then decisions are made. Remember what we were saying, it starts from listening to the challenges and points of pain, and then the commitment from the residents themselves. So if the back end of Jericho come into Phase 5, and if you all decide you want to have, demarcate that area and have proper monitored entry into Buruburu Phase 5 with proper visitor management, it could be a clear start. Border. So item by item, this has to be itemized. It's not a one event, it's got to be a process. Step one, the residents have to sit down, all of them with the consultants. Let's look at all the points of pain, and we start looking from perimeter. We start looking at individual houses, monitoring of people coming in and the vehicles, and the restrictions that are happening. I'll give you an example. Nyayo Estate, in your neighborhood, Nyayo Estate, which is managed through Nyayo Estate Resident Association. Again, in Embakasi, in Eastlands, but it's one of the most organized estates on that end. And if you take that estate and bring it to Kilimani, it will even be you do better than the areas in Kilimani, because you find families doing their walks and the kids are restricted. Nobody allows kids to move out. The gate passes, the security vetting. So everything has to be on point, and it starts from these engagements and the commitment from the members. Then once that is laid out, it moves to the priorities, into intrusion, the policies. So my recommendation is this has to start with an engagement with your team leaders in the estate association and the consultant, and we can provide that avenue for you. I hope that helps give you a starting point. The second one was the gentleman who was talking about the masts. I think the masts, security for the masts. Yes, again, there are laws that govern how telecom masts should be deployed, and especially it becomes a no-no when it comes to residential setups. I recall when one of the telecoms was setting up a mast in one of their estates, and there was a huge demonstration because there was no engagement. You find greed and people taking advantage of residences, allowing commercial corporates set up their masts in estates or on top of buildings, on top of apartments. This is so dangerous and it should never be allowed to happen. So you find that this has already happened. Talking about securing that is one thing. I recommend that, again, engagement with the telecoms and the resident association must happen. It has to start from there, because in individual or static masts are already protected. If you look at telecom masts right now, telecommunication masts, be it Safaricom, Airtel, they are secured fully in a comprehensive manner, from electric fences to metallic gates, surveillance camera, remotely monitored from their control room. So how then do we have masts in residential estates, on top of buildings and inside estates? A high level of negligence. So it has to start from the engagement with the owners and review the risks. And the worst point is that this has to be removed. I remember in Nyayo Estate again, Safaricom was setting up a mast, and the resident put it as a no-no. So again, it starts from the engagement. We can provide advice and give you consultants who can help you start engagements with these people. But as it is, so much has been, residents, associations must get involved because people have been taken advantage of. I think the last one was, I think I left out the one for the subscriptions or the systems for Buruburu. I think when you start those engagements, there are systems you can recommend for gated communities and systems for individual houses. Again, we'll have to look at your setup. Is it a home-based smart system for your house? All those can be offered on subscription. Is it for the gated community? There are one-off systems and subscription. So all these options are available. And again, I'll leave my contacts. We'll be able to provide you what is in the market and advise you if we do not have where you can get that. But the solutions are there. That's a good news. I think the last one is the lady who was talking about the Airbnb. Again, if you look at the evolution of the commercial market in rental space, where Airbnbs, strangers come in and rent and disappear after a week, it all starts from the main entry. It all starts from the entry. So if you're living in a gated community where there are apartments and there are Airbnbs who entertain guests from all sorts of walks of life, then a clear visitor management approach has to be done, capturing of all the registration, the identification, details. In extreme cases, they have to leave secure data or whatever, the identification with security. Reports have to be done. This has to be so keenly done because once an incident happens and they disappear, it becomes again difficult to trace them. They have to sign accord with that resident association. So you have to be so involved and committed as that unit to bring out this problem. Remember what we were saying, it starts with the issues and the people. So this issue has to be brought up. The team and security has to get involved. I finish by saying we cannot leave the security of our families and our properties to chance. And the commitment to working together is paramount to achieving security and safety. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Martin, for that very precise presentation.